Namaste and good evening. I'm in Seattle right now, so here it's the evening. I'm saying good evening, but you can convert it to good morning, good afternoon, depending upon your time zone. We'll start with the prayers. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Now we'll chant Mahamrityunjaya mantra 3 times to pray for those who are in suffering, particularly because of this pandemic. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Iva Bandhana Mrutyurmukshiyamamrutat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Iva Bandhana Mrutyurmukshiyamamrutat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Iva Bandhana Mrutyurmukshiyamamrutat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So today we are starting this classes on Ramacharitamanasa. This is the book, and I'm taking the Gita Press version of it. This is also available as PDF file, which I'll share with you later on. And on this book cover, if you look at, it shows the Lord Rama, Sita, Lakshmana and Hanuman. The 4 brothers, Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrughna, Mother Sita and Hanuman. Hanuman is considered the greatest devotee of Lord Rama. And also, Hanuman is always considered to be available for listening to the story of Rama. So it is said that wherever the story of Rama is going on, Hanuman is present there. So we should also listen to this story, thinking that Lord Hanuman is also one of the listeners of this story. He is making this whole thing very auspicious by his presence. First, we'll see that what is the meaning of the word Ramacharitamanasa. So it is comprising of 3 words, Rama, Charita and Manasa. In short, it is called Manas. Just Manas it is called in the short, in this book. So Rama is the name of the Lord, whose story this book tells us. There is a etymological meaning of the word Rama, Ramante Yoginaha Yasmin, in whom the yogis rejoice. That is Rama. So it is the name of the Lord, and it is also a mantra by itself, considered a very potent mantra. Many sages, saints and sages say that if someone just chants Rama, he will attain the ultimate objective. And if this name comes to someone, name of the Lord, at the time of death, it is said that he is liberated. Then Charita, this word, it has these three meanings: wandered or roamed over, gone, basically related to the journey. Somebody wandering, somebody having a journey. Behavior, acts and deeds, and life, biography, adventures. So these are the various meanings of the word Charita. So Ramacharita would basically mean, first meaning from this would be the journey of Rama. Second would be his acts and deeds. And third would be his life story, biography. They are connected in a way. And this is what Ramacharita would mean. All three would be applicable here. This will describe the journey of Rama, particularly his exile into the forest for 14 years. That makes the central piece of the story of Ramacharitamanasa. So we'll just call it Manas, because Manas is the easier to speak and it's generally known as Manas. Then with the word Manasa, it has primarily two meanings. One meaning is the mind, and other is a particular lake. There is a lake called Manasarovara in Kailasha. So Kailasha is considered the abode of Lord Shiva, and this lake known as Manasarovara, it is also called in short Manasa. So variously this work is described as the lake of deeds of Rama, if you literally look at it. But the way it is connected with the word mind, that this whole story, the whole life of Rama, was in the mind of Lord Shiva, who stays at Kailasha and where this lake is. So this story, he had it in his mind and he revealed it to author of Ramacharitamanasa, Tulsidas. So that's how it came into being. People have described this book as one of the greatest works of Hindu literature. This work has been variously acclaimed as the living sum of Indian culture, the tallest tree in the magic garden of medieval Indian poetry, the greatest book of all devotional literature, the best and most trustworthy guide to the popular living faith of the Indian people. And those who know about Manas, they will say that these are appropriate ways to describe it. So in this course, our objective is to just listen and learn the story of Rama. It is always a wonderful story to listen to, even if one knows it by heart. And for those of you who do not know it, it would be an amazing thing to learn also. So there are primarily two meanings here of the Manasa, Ramacharitamanasa. One is lake of deeds of Rama. The whole story has been metaphorically compared to a lake, and we'll see why. And also it is called Ramacharitamanasa because it was in the mind of Lord Shiva. Then the author of this work is Tulsidas. He was from 1532 to 1623. This makes him contemporary of Shakespeare. So Tulsidas started writing this Ramacharitamanasa at the age of 42, 1574. And it took about 2.5 years for him to complete this. So Tulsidas considered one of the greatest poet saints of medieval India and of all times as well. His story is very interesting, and because we are reading his work, he has written many books, but this is his most popular work, Manas. So I'll just tell you the life story of Tulsidas. Tulsidas was born as a bigger child, like he was in the womb for more than 9 months. And it is said that he had full set of teeth when he was born. And he did not cry, instead he said the word Rama. How much of that is true, how much of that is a lore, we do not know. Of course, nobody was there probably to record it at that time. So Tulsidas was in his fairly young age, as a child, he met his guru. His guru was Narhari. And guru told him the story of Rama. As a child, he listened to it, but he did not learn its significance completely. And Tulsidas is living in this manner. He gets married. His wife was very beautiful. And he was extremely infatuated, extremely attached to his wife. So after the marriage, there are certain days, as per the Indian tradition, when wife goes to her father's family. And Tulsidas would try all his best not to have her go. But there was some occasion where it was absolutely critical that she has to go as per following the tradition. So Tulsidas very unwillingly allowed her to go, and that was to complete the formality only for a few days. But the day she left, he felt so restless that he could not wait out. And in the night, he just set out to meet her, to go to her father's house. Because it was the night, it was dark, it was a dark night. Tulsidas was so engrossed in his thoughts of her that he just kept on going. There was a river on the way, and there was no boats. The river was actually in floods. There was no boat. And Tulsidas did not know swimming very well. But he nevertheless jumped, and he found a log, he considered as a log, and he crossed the river. Somehow he crossed the river. After crossing the river, he reached her house. It was almost the middle of the night. How to go inside? Because if he knocks at the door, everybody would know, and it would be a very shameful episode for Tulsidas. So he wanted to go in a little bit stealthily. He knew the room where his wife was. He knew the window. So he wanted to just climb somehow and reach her window. There was nothing, but Tulsidas was desperately trying, and he thought what as a rope, he held on to it and somehow climbed. And through the window, he entered his wife's room. His wife was naturally very startled, looks at him and sees, what is this? You are coming like this in the middle of night? And there was a very bad smell coming from his body, Tulsidas' body. So she was also puzzled by this. Where are you coming from? What have you done? And he said, no, I just came and I found a log for crossing the river, and then I found a rope here, which I believe you had already put the rope so that I could come up to your room. And she says, no, I did not put out any rope there. Let's see. So then they went out and saw it was a dead snake, which Tulsidas had considered a rope to climb up to the roof. Then she was just curious how such a bad smell is coming from his body. And then they went to the river. There they found it was a corpse which he had held on to cross the river, not a log. So his wife, when she saw all this and his attachment and infatuation towards her, she was aghast. She really scolded him and said that so much affection, so much infatuation you have for this body, for me, for just this body of blood, bones and skins. If you had this much love for Lord Rama, your life would have changed. Somehow that scolding came to Tulsidas like a arrow shot on his chest. He just turned around completely, both in his mind as well as he just immediately turned around, left that place and became a sadhu, became a monk. And he decided to dedicate his life to Lord Rama. So again, he starts listening to the story of Rama, worshipping Lord Rama in various ways. But his heart's desire was to have the vision, actually he wanted to see Lord Rama as direct perception. So how to get it? There was a place where Tulsidas was living. And the story is that he would go out for the morning defecation in the forest, in a little bit wooded area. And in India, there is a tradition, even now in some places, that people take a pot of water to wash themselves. And Tulsidas was doing that. And then some water which was left, he was putting in a tree while returning. So on that tree, there lived a ghost. And because that water was very impure, naturally, it is the remaining of his washing his bottom. So then the ghost really liked that water because it is considered a lower species. So ghost really liked that water. He became happy, he became pleased with Tulsidas. So one day he appeared before Tulsidas. And Tulsidas first was a little afraid, but then Ghost said, don't be afraid, I'm actually pleased with you. And I want to fulfill some desire of you. So Tulsidas had only one desire, to see Lord Rama. And he had heard that you need to meet Hanuman in order to have the vision of Lord Rama. So Tulsidas asked him, can you show me Lord Hanuman? Can you give me the vision of Lord Hanuman to that ghost? That ghost starts trembling. He said, I cannot even tolerate his name. There is a saying, very famous saying, that just by the name of Lord Hanuman, all ghosts and all these lower species people, they run away. They cannot stand. So Tulsidas said, then I don't want anything else. But he said, look, I have come here, I'm pleased with you, so I want to give you something. I cannot, of course, show you Lord Hanuman, but I can tell you some signs of it. So wherever there is a story of Rama going on, he is always there. And he lives in the last. He is the last person to leave. But he may come in different guises. So you have to see. That is the only clue I can give you. So Tulsidas took it as a clue. There was a story of Rama going on. He would go there. He would sit there. And he noticed that there was one person who was affected with leprosy. He would be the last one leaving, like sort of crippled kind of thing. And every day, normally people would take that he is the last person because he cannot get out fast. So he would be the last person leaving. And that's how it appeared. But Tulsidas somehow remembered ghost's advice, and he just falls at his feet in one of the days when nobody else was there. And then that person, that leprosy person, he started to shoo him away. Hey, what are you doing? You will get this disease. Why are you doing this thing to me? And Tulsidas would not listen anything. He just held his feet and saying, no, you must be Lord Hanuman, and you have to give me the vision of Lord Rama. So finally, with the insistence, when he does not leave, Lord Hanuman reveals himself. It was indeed him. And he promised him that one day he will reveal Lord Rama to him. So Tulsidas, and one day when he was rubbing the sandalwood paste and then putting it on the foreheads of the people, two boys had come there. And they were very beautiful. And Tulsidas, as he was giving the sandalwood on their forehead, Lord Hanuman, in order that he recognizes them, he started saying a verse. See, he took the form of a parrot, sat on a nearby tree, and started saying a verse. चित्रकूट के घाट पर भई संतन की भीड़, तुलसीदास चंदन घिसे तिलक दिए रघुवीर. Meaning that there are lot of saints in the place where Tulsidas is, and he is giving the sandalwood paste on the forehead of Lord Rama and Lakshmana, his younger brother. When Tulsidas heard that, he recognized them and he almost fainted with joy. Then Lord Rama disappears and promises him that he will come to him again. And thereafter he could have vision of Lord Rama fairly frequently. Then he got this tremendous inspiration to write the story of Lord Rama. Tulsidas was a great Sanskrit scholar. And till those times, all the great works of devotional literature, of any kind of spiritual works, they were all written in Sanskrit. So Tulsidas also started writing in Sanskrit. But the story goes that he writes in the day. At the end of the day, he finishes some pages. And in the morning, when he gets up and wants to write again, all those pages have disappeared. And he again starts writing. Again, he finishes some verses. Some pages are there. And again, it disappears at the end of night. So next day morning, he is not finding anything. So this happened for about a week. He was completely puzzled. He could see that there was no way, if this continues, he can write anything. So he prayed, and then it is revealed to him that do not write in Sanskrit. I want this story to be written in Hindi, which was the popular language of the masses there at that time, so that it becomes a book for the common people, not only for the scholars. And Tulsidas, he did to that advice. He started writing in Hindi. Actually, he wrote in Awadhi, which is a dialect of Hindi. And that was the dialect which was popular in that region at that time. And he wrote it for 2.5 years. The book, when it was completed, Tulsidas, because it was written in the vernacular language, the local language, all the scholars of the city, they did not want to give any respect to either that book or Tulsidas. So they just wanted to belittle him, that what have you done? This is like worth nothing. Who will give any honor to work not written in Sanskrit? So, but Tulsidas was so sure about his book and its value that he didn't really care much about it. However, when people started talking about the book, scholars of the place, they tried their best to belittle it, did not succeed. Then they thought, okay, let us take the opinion of a great Sanskrit and Vedantic scholar. His name was Madhusudana Saraswati. He's considered a realized master, and he has written a commentary on Gita, which is very valuable, very famous commentary. And he was a contemporary of Tulsidas. He was living at that time, and very, very famous scholar of Sanskrit, of Vedanta, and also a great spiritual master. So they thought that Madhusudana Saraswati would definitely not approve of this kind of work. So they took this, basically went to him for his opinion, so that he can write something, then public can be swayed against Tulsidas' book. But Madhusudana Saraswati, when he read it and when he saw the whole thing, he was so impressed. He said, it is the essence of all the Vedanta and other scriptures, and I approve of it wholeheartedly. Scholars certainly did not expect this opinion, and their work became rather difficult after this episode. But they were still very unwilling to accept the greatness of this work. So they said, okay, let us put it to some test. The test was in Varanasi, where Tulsidas was living, and all these scholars were from Varanasi, Kashi, also known as Kashi. There is a temple of Lord Shiva, which is considered one of the most important temples of Lord Shiva, Kashi Vishwanath Mandir. They put the book in the temple. And what they did, they put the book at the bottom. On top of that, they put the scriptures like Purana, then Vedas. And then they closed the temple. They said, if this book is indeed telling the divine glories in the rightful manner, then Lord Shiva should approve it. So Pandits, these scholars played this trick, thinking that it will not happen. I mean, book will remain as it is. But to the surprise of all, when next morning the temple was opened, the book was actually on the top, and it had some sort of a symbol like it is approved by Lord Shiva. And thereafter, their resistance broke. They understood the greatness of Tulsidas. They understood the greatness of his work, and it became an extremely, extremely popular. The popularity of this work, Ramacharitamanasa, is so much that in India, most of the people, or at least in North India, most of the people learn about the story of Lord Rama through this book, Manas. So, original Ramayana and Ramacharitamanasa, how can it be? So there is a work called Ramayana, and that was written by Sage Valmiki. It is in Sanskrit. It is a fairly big work, 24,000 verses. And it is considered the first work in Sanskrit literature. Like he is called Adi Kavi, the very first poet, Valmiki. And Ramayana is the very first work. So after Vedas, which are considered not written by human beings, they are revealed literature. Ramayana is considered the first book, so to speak, of the humankind, you can say, after Vedas. Or at least this is the belief. That, of course, we do not know exactly the dates because the dates were not kept so well in India. But this is definitely a very old work. And this is the original story of Lord Rama. This story became so popular that there have been thousands, literally thousands of retelling of those stories. Some of them are lost. Hundreds are still available. Many of the retellings are in Sanskrit itself. And many of them later on, in the last few hundred years, in vernacular local languages. So this is probably the most popular story which touches the hearts and mind of people, not only in India, but other places also. Like if you go to Thailand, for example, even today, their kings is called Rama. Like currently I think is Rama 10 or Rama 11. So even their culture in all these East Asian countries, it was greatly influenced by this story of Ramayana. Then Ramacharitamanasa, I told you how it came into being, primarily for the common people. Manas is a great book for devotion, as well as for knowledge and yoga. And it's a beautiful story. So the story itself is beautiful. And it is interspersed with these teachings of devotion, knowledge, and yoga. Tulsidas says that he is writing Ramacharitamanasa for his own joy. Swantaha Sukhaya. So he is not writing for other people, he is writing for his own joy. His own, and in fact, it is for our own joy when we read it. And the amazing part of this story is that in India, a lot of people tell their stories. There are like a lot of functions you can find in India where there is a speaker for a week or 10 days or 9 days. He will just speak on the story of Rama. Most of the people, almost all the people you will say in the audience, they know the story by heart, and yet they want to listen. Hundreds of times you listen to the story, it gives you ever new joy. That's the amazing part of it. Just the story part itself. Plus teachings, of course, are timeless and eternal. So when we are covering these classes, it will always be a challenge how much to cover, how much to leave, what all to cover. When we'll see that how can we create a balance. The book is structured as in the 7 chapters. So they are called kandas here. Kanda is, you can simply say a chapter, just a section or chapter. So I'll just show you the 7 chapters. These are the names. So Bala Kanda literally means related to the childhood stories of Lord Rama. This has 361 verses. Ayodhya Kanda, that is his actions in Ayodhya, the place where he was born. This has 326 stories, and also this chapter tells about his going to the forest. Then Aranya Kanda, when he is in the forest. that is 46 verses. Kishkindha Kanda, that is one part when Mother Sita is kidnapped and he is searching for her. That is 30 verses. He is going to and meets Sugriv and Hanuman. So that is 30 verses. Then Sundarakanda. Sundarakanda literally means it's beautiful. In this chapter, Lord Hanuman finds the address where Mother Sita is. And it is considered the most important by most of the people, this chapter. Then Lanka Kanda, this is the place where Lord Rama fights Lord Ravana and kills him in Lanka. And Uttarkanda, finally he is coronated, and the concluding chapter, 130 verses. So these two are of course the biggest, but the beauty of the other chapters is quite amazing. And we'll see, I'll try to cover the whole story in short. Of course, the complete thing cannot be covered we are planning to have this course of 32 classes. So there is no possibility of covering the whole story. But I'll cover in a nutshell all the major parts, all the significant parts of the story, and then in between we'll discuss some spiritual teachings also. So these 7 kandas are considered, these 7 chapters, they are compared to the 7 steps to the lake. So I told you that Manas means lake also. So lake of deeds of Rama. So that's how it is considered, that there are 7 steps to go to the lake. So the 7 chapters are considered like 7 steps to descend into the lake. There is a tradition of just chanting Manas, and the whole Manas, if it is chanted continuously, takes anywhere between 18 and 24 hours, and that it is considered auspicious. So this work in itself is considered as a great scripture, and just by chanting it considered an auspicious, and one earns good deeds, good karma. We call it punya. So that is called Akhanda Ramayana. If it is chanted continuously, and this is Akhanda means without break. So many people do that even today. So the way it works is that multiple people are assigned to chant, and then they chant, the whole thing is chanted continuously, and typically it takes less than 24 hours. So that is Akhanda Ramayana. Then also it is divided into 30 parts for chanting, and it is called the 30 parts. People chant one part in a day, and the whole thing is covered in a 30 days, which is a Masa. Masa is month. So it is called Masa Parayana. So it is divided into 30 parts for chanting purpose. And then there is a Nava Parayana. Nava means 9, and Parayana. So it is also chanted in 9 days, like 2 hours roughly each day. So there are many ways people chant this book, and it is considered very auspicious. I covered some parts of the significance of the stories. So it is both amazing as a story and of course as a teaching. 4 places the story is being told. So this story is being told in 4 places, and all these 4 places, the way Manas is written, he switches from one place to another, but the storyline remains continuous. It remains in one thread. And these 4 places, like one place is Tulsidas is telling the saints. So these 4 places are considered the 4 we call ghat in India to descend into a lake. But I'm not very sure what is the corresponding word in English. But the 4 places from where you get down into the lake. So these are the 4 places, and These 4 places are, one place is Tulsidas is telling the story to different other saints in Chitrakoot. Lord Shiva, that is the first play, that is the original. Lord Shiva is telling to Mother Parvati. Then third one is Sage Valmiki is telling to his disciple, Sage Bharadwaj. And fourth is Kagbhushundi is telling to Garuda. So if you are not very familiar with these names, it's okay. We'll come with these names later on and I'll explain to you in more detail. But just understand the way Manas is interwoven, from one place to another. Tulsidas is switching the story, but the story is, the thread is continuous. Then family tree. Of course, there are a lot of characters in Manas, and I'll post a link. There is a link on the internet. I'll post it in a drive where the introduction to major characters is given so that you can get familiar. And I'll just share very short part of the family tree. So King Dasharatha, he is the king of Ayodhya. He has 3 wives, Kaushalya, Kaikeyi, and Sumitra. Kaushalya's son is Lord Rama, and Rama's wife is Sita. So this is, of course, the story of Lord Rama. So that's how Lord Rama is the son of Kaushalya, who is the eldest wife of King Dasharatha. Then Bharata is from the second wife, Kaikeyi. He is younger to Lord Rama. And Dasharatha's third wife is Sumitra. She has 2 sons, Lakshmana and Shatrughna. So there are 4 brothers. Lord Lakshmana, all three younger brothers are totally devoted to Lord Rama. But Lakshmana is always in his physical company. He never leaves Lord Rama's physical company. And Shatrughna similarly is quite attached to Bharata and doesn't leave his physical company. But everybody, all 3 younger brothers are very devoted to Lord Rama. So first, I'll just cover how the classes are going to be conducted. So this is the introductory class. My aim is to have a class for about 45 to 50 minutes. And if maybe finish a little earlier and give 5 minutes for question answer session. But the whole thing should be less than 1 hour. It is, as I told you, it is not going to be easy for me to decide how much to cover, how much to leave. So going to be challenging. We'll see how. My idea was because it is already divided into 30 parts for chanting in a month, I could take one segment in 1 day and cover in 30 days. And the last day would be 30-second class would be for conclusion. That will not happen exactly in the same way because the story, there are some parts of the story which will require much more explanation, which are in one segment than the other. So on an average, that's how it will be. We will have 30 classes, but not exactly in the same fashion that 1-to-1. And the 30-second class would be conclusion. So 30 classes, I'll tell you the main story of the book. The classes will be conducted 2 days in a week, Thursdays and Saturdays at the same time, 6 p.m. Pacific time. There is a video upload link. It is the same spiritual programs of Kriya Yoga International YouTube. This is our channel. Many of you would know. If you do not know, I'll send it. I think it is a part of the email also which has been sent out. So you can go to this channel and you will see this. We'll create a playlist of Manas and then you will see these videos being uploaded there. There are some other documents which I cannot share on YouTube because YouTube does not allow sharing of the documents, but I'll create another link which I'll share with you in the next class. And there I'll put some documents which are like the whole book from Gita Press as a PDF copy. And I told you like the family tree, the different the main characters of the story. So like that, a few documents. I'll upload it on the on this drive. Today is Guru Purnima. Many of you would know. Many of you would have celebrated. And Tulsidas starts his work. So first he prays to Lord Ganesha, then Shiva, but then when the first verse of the book comes, he first offers his prayers for the Guru. And this verse, or you can say set of verses, this is considered a very amazing set of prayers for Guru. So I'll just concluding this class, because today we have Guru Purnima also. I'll share this with you. So this will also give you a sort of idea into the structure. So this is called Chaupai. And in Hindi, because it is written in Hindi, it is, even though it's written in Devanagari, it's not exactly pronounced as Sanskrit would be pronounced. One of the major differences, like you see Moda, in Sanskrit you would say Moda, but in Hindi you will not pronounce the last A, you will just say Mod. So there would be a difference in the way Hindi is pronounced. And then he will finish these verses. So this is called Chaupai, and then he will finish this with verse 1, that is called Doha. That is the names of the meters in Hindi. So I'm not a very good chanting person, in not a singing, but Manasa is sung in amazing ways by many people. There are many tones, and it's really beautiful and sweet to just listen to it, even if you don't understand the meaning. I'll give it a try, and you can listen to it, and then you can also read the meaning. I'll read out the meaning also for you. With this, we'll conclude today's class after taking any of the questions. Bandam Guru Pad Padum Paraga Suruchi Subhas Saras Anuraga Amiya Muri Me Churan Charu Saman Sakal Bhavruj Parivaru Sukruti Sambhutan Bimala Vibhuti Manjul Mangal Mod Prasuti Janman Manju Mukur Mal Harni किए तिलक गुण गण बस करनी श्री गुरु पद नख मणि गण ज्योति सुमिरत दिव्य दृष्टि ही होती दलन मोह तमसो सप्रकाशु बड़े भाग उर आवै जासु उघरहि विमल विलोचन ही के मिटहि दोष दुख भव रजनी के सूझहि रामचरित मनि मानिक गुपुत प्रगट जह जो जहि खानिक जथा सुअंजन अंजिद्र साधक सिद्ध सुजान कौतुक देखत सैल बन भूतल भूरि निधान. So this is the prayer to the Guru. I greet the pollen like dust of the lotus feet of my preceptor, refulgent, fragrant and flavored with love. It's a lovely powder of the life-giving herb, which allays the host of all the attendant ills of mundane existence. It adorns the body of a lucky person, even as white ashes beautify the person of Lord Shiva, and brings forth sweet blessings and joys. It rubs the dirt off the beautiful mirror in the shape of the devotee's heart, when applied to the forehead in the form of a tilaka. It attracts a host of virtues. The splendor of gems in the form of nails on the feet of the blessed Guru unfolds divine vision in the heart by its very thought. The lustre disperses the shades of infatuation. Highly blessed is he in whose bosom it shines. With its very appearance, the bright eyes of the mind get opened. The attendant evils and sufferings of the night of mundane existence disappear, and gems and rubies in the shape of stories of Rama, both patent and hidden, wherever and whatever mind they may be come to light. So English translation as it is cannot always do the justice with the original, that probably with any great work in the original language when it is written and you translate it, more so with a poem, and that too with such a devotional and poem with the loaded meanings, it's very difficult. But we'll give it a try, and I'll see how much can I convey to you the meaning which as I understand. So with this, I'll just see any comments or questions. If you have any, you can write. So somebody said they cannot see the book cover. So I'll just try again. So you see, this is the book cover. So this book, I'll put it, this is available as PDF, and this is where I'll put it on a drive, and then I'll share you the link, share with you the link. So if there are no questions, or I will close this class today. So one person has said that I would love to share my thoughts and show my original Ramacharitamanasa, please. You can send me the photo, I can share here with others, and you can write your thoughts and I'll read it out to everybody. That's perfectly okay. There is a Doha meaning. Somebody is saying read the Doha meaning. So I did not read. This is the Doha. So this is the meaning. As for instance, by applying to the eyes the miraculous salve known by the name of Siddhanjana, strivers, adepts, as well as the men of wisdom easily discover a host of mines on hilltops, in the midst of forest, and in the bowels of earth. So the idea is that there was a magic paste. If you put in your eyes, you start seeing the hidden mines under the earth or in the hills. So this grace of Guru is like that collyrium for the eyes, where person starts seeing the divinity and other great gems everywhere. That is the idea. So the way English is translated, this has been written sort of a little bit literal, and I think Gita Press, this is from Gita Press. The translation is considered good, but it probably requires a few readings in order to understand the import. So somebody is saying that they not understanding the Chaupai and Doha meaning. So Chaupai and Doha, this is the name of the meters in Hindi. So that is what Chaupai and Doha is. So Chaupai literally means four steps. So you see it is in the 4 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's why it's called Chaupai. And this is called Doha. This is similar to what Sanskrit shloka is, Doha. So these are the 2 major types of meters used in Manas, but there are some others also which are used. Okay, so with this, I'll just close with the prayers. So we'll close with the prayers. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Thank you all.